Welcome to another episode of Ottawa Experts. I'm Alfonso Quadra, your host, and today's a very special program. We are talking about how to build relationships for business and life. How to build relationships for business and life. And sometimes we say your net work equals your net worth. And we have some experts to tell us if that is a correct statement. We have our expert, Adam Nazarella. He is a former spy and founder of Ronin Private Intelligence. We have Adam Dufresne. He helps business owners go from uncertainty to certainty. And Robbie Hollywood, he is a performance coach, CEO and founder of Hollywood Marketing. Guys, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So we're talking about this thing here, building relationships for business and life. And I'm sure every one of us here on the table believes in that very much, in how important it is to build a relationship. But first, I want to get your stories. Adam, how did you become this spy, or is it 007, Agent 007? Or
I guess, first of all, I'm a reformed spy, so the life's behind me. I worked for CSIS for almost 8 years as an intelligence officer. And I spent a lot of time in the field doing what we call recruiting. So speaking with people who have information about bad people.
Sounds exciting.
It certainly has its moments. And so part of the nature of that business is building relationships with people who really don't want you around in the first place. They're hesitant to talk to you. They don't want to be seen or known to be associated with you. And they sure don't want to give you information about people close to them. So really the only way to get across that bridge is to build trust, build common ground, establish likability, and eventually you get to the point where you have a relationship that provides those fruits.
And so you managed to merge that spy career into this new career, which is, Ronin Intelligence, which is, explain to me what you do with in the company, for the private sector.
Well, for the private sector, we offer two major things. It's security and investigation consulting, so taking the raw tools of the spy world and collecting information that gives decision makers peace of mind. So when they're facing critical problems and they need insight, that's one of the major things that we do. The other one is working with people for whom relationships are critical to business success. So learning how to read people, communicate productively, establish relationships to overcome resistance, to profit from negotiations, to get to yes.
Wow. So you see, we all have to have some spy background to be. No. I think we're going to learn a little bit this evening. Now, if you guys want to call in, the number is on the screen. Call in. We do have. You are giving away 1 hour coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So anybody who's interested in what I do in my coaching perspective is I decode human behavior. So if you're having a sticky problem with a prospect or a client and you can't understand why the sale's not going anywhere, come to me, talk to me, tell me what's going on, what you've said, what they've said. I'll dig in and help you figure out what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what you can do to go back to them.
Beautiful. So 1 hour.
1 hour.
1 hour free coaching. You guys, all you have to do is call in. Call in. The number's on the screen. Adam Dufresne. How did you become this coach, this business coach?
Business coach. So my career went in a couple of ways. I've only actually had one job my entire life. It was for the Canadian government. Didn't last very long.
Neither did his.
So essentially, over my career, this company that I'm starting now, this is my fourth business I've started. Wow. Started up two businesses, and they went pretty well. They were a lot of fun, and I had some great times learning how to do them. Third business, we were set up for success. We had seed money. We had two entrepreneurs that had done this before, so we were good. We had hired a business coach, we were in.
It was like a slam dunk.
6 months later, we were broke. The industry hated us. We couldn't get anywhere, so the company had to fold. And it was interesting. My business coach at the time that's when he sat me down and he said, "Finally, you failed one. Now you're not so cocky. Why don't you try and learn how to teach people from your mistakes in the past?" So that's what I did. I went down to the certification, and I've been helping business owners ever since.
And how long is that? How long is that?
Over 2 years now.
Okay. So you're offering a free business consultation. So just so you guys are aware, if you call in, the number is on the screen, or you tweet us at Alfonso13, hashtag relate to be great. relate to be hashtag relate to be great. Ask you questions. We will, the first question will get Adam Nazzarella's gift, and the next one will be Adam Dufresne's, which is a business. Can you tell us what that entails?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a business evaluation. So essentially, what I'll do, I'll send you an evaluation that you can take home. What we're going to do is dig into the entire architecture of your business, all the different systems from human resources to sales to financial planning, all that type of fun stuff. We'll get together, we'll evaluate it, and then we'll take a look at those top 12 areas that you need to work on the next 90 days to make sure that your vision is reality.
That sounds pretty good. What's the number?
Right now.
You have a card?
Robbie Hollywood.
Yes, sir.
My man.
How are you?
Give us the lowdown. How did you become Mr. Hollywood?
The low and the dirty down. Okay, where to start? Wow.
Don't start in grade 2, but
Grade 2. You know what? It's really it wasn't that long of a time ago,
Yeah,
so I can definitely. I'm 26 years old. So originally, I'm from the small African country of Rwanda. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. I'm sure in the spy world, maybe you've been to Kigali before. So after the war, my family, we are political refugees here to Canada. So for me, the way I came in contact with human behavior, quote unquote, and what fascinated me to start studying it and eventually start teaching it was the fact that I grew up in a very affluent family, right? When I was younger, my dad was this big shot lawyer back in the country, and I grew up very well off, right? And when I was 15, my family decides to move to the US. So I go from watching my dad being this big shot lawyer, having a compound and 20 servants and all these type of things, to him driving a cab in Alexandria, Virginia. So to me, that created a huge identity crisis right off the bat, because I could only identify with my father's wealth to a certain extent. So as a 15-year-old boy, to me, it was completely incomprehensible to start to see such a huge change in my life. So my life changed the day I came in contact with Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. That, to me, that was the moment where everything clicked, because there was always that dire need to go back to the financial life that I was used to. But I knew that my father and my family could not afford me that lifestyle anymore. So when I came in contact with that book, it taught me a lot how to deal with people. And that's really all business is two people coming in contact with one another and one person influencing the other, right? If I'm more convinced that this is a car than you are convinced that it's a cup, I will always influence you to believe that it's a car. Right? So to me, by just generating that understanding, and then I started getting into sales and stuff like that. I started out working with companies that do direct marketing. And then eventually I realized that I had a good understanding of the business, and eventually started, it was very, very organic growth. So I was very lucky because my business moved up very quickly, because I kind of found a niche market with companies that do direct marketing. That's really what I specialize in. So guys that go door to door and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like a side of the business where we're talking about earlier. Not a lot of coaches are very comfortable working with that type of marketing, because they feel like it has a little bit of a dirty connotation to it, a bit of pressure sales and so on and so forth. So to me, I was kind of lucky, I guess, because there was really not a lot of competition. So my business grew very quickly because there were not too many people who were offering the services that I was. And here we are. Hollywood Marketing has been in operation for about 3.5 years now. And
you have an ebook to give away?
Yes, that's correct. So I actually wrote a book about my...
So just 1 second, we're going to talk about the book. We have Carrie on the line. You have a question?
Yes,
Carrie?
hi. Yes, actually I do.
Okay.
Yes, hello there. Actually, the question is for my son. I see that you seem very energetic and positive, and my son, he's finishing his degree in university. And I was wondering if he's able to meet up with you, and so you can give him advice and stuff about business.
Oh, sure. So you can meet up. He's going to be meeting up with Adam. But do you have a question towards the business? Does he have a business relationship question?
Yes. So he already started. He has like few ideas that he started, and he just feels sometimes stuck because he doesn't have the support. And you don't know where to go or who to turn to. So when I saw your...
Carrie, can you turn down the volume of your television?
Yeah.
For 1 second, so we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Is that better?
That is excellent. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so basically he already started few things. He's stuck. He doesn't have enough experience.
So your question is, how does he get experience?
Yeah, like if
Okay,
exactly.
perfect. So I'll give it to the experts. We'll start with Adam here. How can he get experience? How old is he?
22.
22.
22. So he's good age.
So something that might be more important than experience, Carrie, is exposure. If he has a good idea and he can prove his value, one of the best things that he can do is go out and start marketing himself and connecting with people and showing them, his ingenuity and his value, and find himself a champion or a mentor who can take him under his wing and start introducing him to the right people. Because at 22, I've been there, I think we've all been there. Building experience is the toughest thing in the world, and that's going to come with time. But if you bump up against a guy like Alfonso or like Adam, Robbie, myself, we can connect you into our networks. If you show us what you've got, chances are we know somebody that can help your son out.
Well, that would be great. He has a class tonight, so that's the reason I guess I'm calling for him.
Nice. Adam, you want to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best advice I can give anybody starting out, and I know how tough it is. The first company I started, I was 21 years old. Go and make some mistakes. Go out there, make some mistakes, because how do you get experience? By making mistakes and knowing not what to do. So one of the things I used to teach all of my young sales reps to do in that first business, as opposed to trying to look at it as, how am I going to figure this out and do it? Everybody had a race of how they could figure out 10 ways to fail the quickest.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, exactly, right? And so we had a little gift at the end for the first person that made 10 mistakes, but you learn from it. You come back and you grow.
Fear stops us sometimes, fear of failure.
Right.
And I have a belief, I've always believed this.
To help him out, right?
Sorry?
I said it would be good for him to meet people like yourself so you can help him through.
Yeah, absolutely. Robbie, you have a...
Yeah, one thing that I was really lucky when I first started my first business when I was 19. So to me, I remember the number one piece of advice that I was given that really helped me was by a mentor of mine, a man by the name of Jody Kelly. And he told me, he's like, you know what? No one will do anything for you in business out of the generosity of their heart. If you're going to sit across from someone and you need either money, because you cannot do it on your own. You're going to need people. But don't expect people to do it out of the generosity of their heart. Always have leverage. What do you bring to the table? Why should this person feel motivated to go ahead and help you? And I find that the biggest mistake that most entrepreneurs make is assuming that, I have a great idea and, I have put my vibrations into the universe. So I'm just going to go out there and start knocking doors. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that. Right? And so it's always, what do I bring to the table and what's in it for the other person for them to be able to help me? And that's, yeah.
Carrie, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. I greatly appreciate that very much. And I'm sure I will tell my son what you guys said and to take it from there.
Carrie, so much. We're going to go to break now, and we'll have more with our experts after this. And we're back with our experts. We're talking about how to build relationships, lasting relationships for business and life. And we're also said that your network sometimes equals your net worth. And is that a true comment, Adam?
Starting out as a businessman, so just a few months out of the gate, I'll have to defer. But I believe in that. I think that everything is about the quality of the relationships you build and what you put out into the business world, because the more people that you help, the more relationships that are meaningful that you create to afford win-win situations, the more it's going to come back to you. It's like Robbie was saying earlier. People won't do things out of the generosity of their heart. They have to have a good reason, whether that's they see the potential in you or they see the value in your product or service or you've done something for them. But as you build that basis of a bigger...
And mutual, right?
Mutually successful, yeah. There's always got to be, in my opinion, a win-win. So if I do something for you that results in a payday for me, but you leave not feeling good, that's not going to come back for me ever again. My net worth won't spike because of that, because he'll only deal with me once. So building a network that's not only mutually successful but productive for everybody, absolutely.
Win-win, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right when you say that. There's countless experiences and countless amounts of time when I can look back and say, there was no reason that I should have got this business. I didn't say the right things. I didn't do the right things, but I had a 5-year relationship with the person, and so now it suits the needs, and all of a sudden I didn't even have to go out and make the sale or hustle to get it. It just kind of falls in your lap. And so I think people forget a lot of the times, because when we're focused on business, we're so focused on this quarter's got to be better than last quarter, and we're focused on 3 months, but you don't realize that some of the people you meet down the road, they pay off big in the end, just because you were there for them. You helped them out, they helped you out, you developed a relationship, you developed a mutual respect, and later on down the road, it pays dividends.
Robbie, net worth?
I'm a firm believer
Network.
of that, yes. I'm a firm believer that you are only, my father always says, it's like you're only as rich as the people you made rich. So our goal at Hollywood Marketing, for example, is to make sure that we are creating as many success stories as possible. Because we feel like, because it's all relative, right? Like every action has an equal reaction, right? The more people that we're going out there and concentrating on the fact of making successful, the more it's going to be a huge turnaround, right? Because most businesses, there's always that, I believe they say there's 6 degrees of separation in every personal relationship. I believe in business it's only 3, right? So I know for sure that I've done business with someone who's done business with you. And if your name is everything, right? If your name rings good bells, you will always be in business. So your network is absolutely worth your net worth. And we always emphasize that with all the companies that we work with, because we want to make sure that that concept is understood. Because most people go into business, like you were saying, worried about hitting quotas and all these type of things, but they don't see the little things that actually push the engine. Because quotas are one thing, but if your name doesn't mean anything, there is no quotas to be hit, absolutely. Right? So you're very right. Yes, your network is absolutely worth your network.
Well, I love that statement. Now, if you guys at home would like some of these, you're offering a free coaching evaluation and you have an ebook, right. You can send your questions. The number's on the screen. Also, you can tweet us at Alfonso13. The number's also on the screen. And hashtag relate to be great. I love that hashtag. So tell us a little bit about the ebook that they're...
Yes. So I wrote a book that is available on Amazon. It's called Sons of Monarchy. Yes, I know it's a little cliche with a little play on words.
Anarchy,
free Googles. Yes, free Googles. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So it's pretty much my experience with Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, because I cannot emphasize how much that book has changed my life. Like, I would absolutely not be anywhere close, especially at my age. I'm 26 years old. I'm a black kid from Rwanda, who grew up in Alexandria, Virginia, and I have my high school education. I dropped out of my second year university, so I have no business doing as well as I'm doing. But just that book and the level of understanding of human psychology and human functioning and relationship between people and how to get your agenda across and what it has done for me is tremendous. And I went ahead and piled out my whole entire experience in the book, and I love sharing it with people. Yeah.
So here's another question. there's a lot of salespeople. I can swing a dead cat and hit like 3 or 4 of them, you know. But what are some of the mistakes that some of these salespeople make? You know, especially even successful ones.
Chasing numbers. I think the biggest thing is if you're in the sales game just to make money, look, you can make money in so many different ways. You can come by it honestly or not. I'm firmly of the belief that you're in the sales game to help fulfill people's needs, desires, their goals. So if you're not in it to help, to make a difference for somebody, I think you're missing the point. The biggest mistake salespeople make is that they chase transactions rather than relationships.
And relationships, it's going to lead to more transactions in the future, right?
And more relationships. I mean, when you go back to networking, I mean, right here we've got the basis of a network, okay? You and I may never do business. So somebody might say, well, what's the point of being connected with Alfonso? Well, Alfonso might call me one day and say, hey, my buddy Frank, you know, he's re-roofing his house and the guy fell off the roof. Hey, Alfonso, I know a great lawyer. I might have just helped out your buddy.
Yeah.
That's the power of networking. And from there, the relationships spiderweb out. But the objective, whether it's sales or networking itself, is always just to create productive relationships.
Adam number 2 or Adam? Well, then 1 or 2, but
Well, so the one thing that whenever I work with sales teams, there's such a big misconception out there. Salespeople, they talk the talk, they walk the walk, they watch The Boiler Room, The Glengarry Ross, The Wolf of Wall Street.
I love The Boiler Room.
Oh, I mean, they're awesome movies, right? They're awesome movies, but that's for entertainment purposes. That's not what really gets things done, right? And so most people, and I'm going to use a dirty word here, is most people see sales as manipulation, right? And so they try and manipulate people. I'm here to tell you that sales is manipulation. But what you need to do is manipulate the way that you communicate and you demonstrate your value to others to help them understand what they're going to gain from the experience. And I think a lot of people miss that. All they try and do is go out there with that, you know, they have the rebuttal book, they have the lines that catch people off guard. Yeah, exactly. Like all this type of stuff. And they forget that, you know, they're trying to develop a relationship with the person on the other end of the line. Because when's the last time you bought from somebody you don't like?
We only do things with people we like. Absolutely. Right? I get my hair cut at the same place every 2 weeks because I like her. Yeah, you know, and I don't trust anybody else. You know, I like that person. We have great conversations, and I always go back to the same thing with my mechanic. You know, so on, so on. So, what are some mistakes, Mr. Hollywood?
I just like you guys, I deal with a lot of salespeople. That's literally, I live 6 months out of the year out of a suitcase, right? And the one thing that I've noticed is it's one thing to try to relate to your client, but the biggest mistake that I find that most salespeople make is taking too much away from their own personality and trying to be something that they're not, right? And Zig Ziglar said it best, timid salesmen have skinny kids, right? And I find that the more you're trying to be something that you're not, just to relate with a client or trying to build rapport on something that you're not familiar with, right? For example, walking into an office and seeing football posters all over the office, but you never watch a football game a day in your life and you're trying to make conversation based on it. Because you're trying to so much to get to that deal that you take away from all the amazing things that people find about you and you're trying to be something else that you're not. And that is one mistake that I find that a lot of salespeople make is trying to take a cookie cutter approach to everything and not really putting their own personality out there and things that people do find attractive about them and that people do hang on to, and instead trying to mirror the client a little too much, and that comes off as fake. Yeah. And the client reads through that like an open book. Right? Yeah.
So, is there a time that we need to mirror? And what? Okay, first of all, you said mirror. Let's. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, let's be clear on it. Right? Mirroring, matching, and mirroring are communications techniques. They can be used to create a level of rapport. They can be used to indicate a level of rapport. But
when I go to the customs agent when I'm coming into Canada, why do I feel nervous all the time?
That's a good question for Adam.
And then the guy, the guy's just talking to me. I'm just like, you know, I do this for a living, but I find myself I can't speak, you know, and I'm not even doing anything wrong.
No, it's a perfect example of how powerful nonverbal communication is. So that whole customs area is set up to send you a powerful message without saying a word. People in uniforms, bright lights, intimidating row after row of inspection kiosks, signage that says if you're from here, go here. It's all set up to be a big mind job, right?
Wow.
And it's meant to elicit nervousness so that if you are doing something, it leaks out of you non-verbally, so that you're guilty before you even open your mouth.
Wow.
And they're trained to look for it.
So is this mirroring technique, is that where, how would you get, for example, let's say I am doing something wrong. I'm sitting there, is there these techniques come out that I don't even know?
Yeah, that's called the emotional leakage, and everybody is guilty of it. Even if you're a really well-controlled nonverbal communicator, there's always a tick or a tell or something that you do when you're uncomfortable. The key thing is to try not to consciously mirror people because it comes off as awkward and creepy. There are a lot of communications tools, but a lot of people make
So what is a subtle mirroring?
subtle mirroring.
Can we,
Sure, I just did one right now. So you were talking like this with your hands. I made a very subtle gesture that was similar, and then I stopped. When I
I
teach,
suddenly just liked you a little bit more. Is that?
But
It's
now that you told
working.
me, I don't like it as much anymore.
the trick with mirroring, if you're going to do it deliberately, is to do it similarly but not the same. So some people make the mistake, for example, if you lean back, I lean back. And you pick it up, but
It's too much.
it flags with you, right? It's a little too much. So it's got to be a little more subtle and not too overt. But I also tell people don't use one technique in isolation because it's like trying to decide who the best hockey player is in the NHL by who has the hardest slap shot. It's just one dimension of communication. You have to look at everything.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, some of these things we do automatically. I didn't have any spy training,
No.
and I find myself, I always try, I'm like a chameleon, and not on purpose, but I try to be close to that person. It's not even a prospect. It's just a person. I just try to mold myself so I can connect.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like it's really mirroring. As I feel it's just really coming to a level of wherever their level is. I want to live there in order to connect.
But that's because you have an authentic desire to connect with people. So you're not trying to manipulate a situation so that people like you. You like the people you're in front of, and you're giving that back to them. So that's what Robbie was talking about earlier: is authenticity. You know, going in and being yourself.
Be yourself.
Yes.
Adam, do you mirror?
Yeah, I love what you just kind of said there, that you kind of do that sort of stuff. Like you said, there's a million and one different techniques, but you have that desire for people to like you, right? And there's a very, very basic thing that happens in human psychology, right? At the core of your brain, where the reptilian brain is, the first question that your brain asks every single time it has an interaction with anything is this thing like me?
Yeah.
We're gonna come back to more of that, more of Ottawa experts and building relationships after this. Welcome back. We're talking about how to build relationships, lasting relationships, real authentic relationships. We have experts here. We have a spy. We have a business coach. We have Hollywood marketing, and it's an incredible story from Rwanda. We are, if you do call in, the number's on the screen. We're offering 1 free hour of coaching, 1 free business evaluation, and an ebook. What was the name? Sons of Monarchy.
Sons of Monarchy. It's available on Amazon right now.
You can also tweet us. Tweet your questions at Alfonso at Alfonso13, and hashtag relate to be great. And that was something that we came up with before the show.
No, he came up.
The spy. It was the spy. So now moving into, let's put the business portion, right here, and let's talk about the life, relationships for life, because that's what I'm really interested in. Because everything will spill over from the life. If you make a good friend, you will give business to your friend before anybody else, right? So where does the life portion fit in?
Absolutely. Well, like I was saying, just at the end of the last segment, where you have that first question: is this thing like me? Look at your closest friends. Are they like you, right? They probably have the similar kind of interests. They have a similar kind of mindset. Everybody does a similar type of thing, similar way to talk. A lot of the times you have these close friends that you even have this lingo that nobody else understands, right? And you're like, oh yeah, sorry, the inside joke, right? So, and that's where it really begins, is searching out, understanding what you're like and how you are, and kind of searching those types of people out, right? Like that's how you really develop, I find, those lasting relationships. And one of the areas for me, to give you a perfect example, I grew up as a competitive hockey player. 32 years old now, I still play hockey 3 times a week. Why? Because that's one of my places that I've learned how to develop relationships with people as we play towards a common goal, right? So understand what you like, what you don't like, and go explore the things you like.
That's really, sorry, Robin.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of doing business with friends. And I'll tell you why. And it's something that I've done a few times, and it has resulted in catastrophic outcomes. And I've even worked with a woman that I was in a personal relationship with, and we lived together. So it's one of those things where there's a fight at home, it continues through the commute to work, and there is no that space of separation. It's always kind of, and that eventually spells into the business. Reason why I think that is, reason why I'm not a big fan is because once you develop a personal relationship with someone, eventually there is this sense of entitlement almost, where they feel like there is something that you owe them, right? When I go into business with someone, the only thing between you and I is the leverage that I bring. What do you bring to the table? What do I bring to the table? When there's that personal relationship, the one thing I find is all that gets very blurred because of that friendship or that relationship. Suddenly now the scales are no longer balanced because that person feels like, hey, here's my friend, so I can show up for work an hour late, or I don't have to hand in this report at the time that this guy's process that I have to do because it's my friend. I can get away with this type of things. And that sense of entitlement is what I tend to kind of get away from because it really rarely ever ends well. I'm speaking of personal experiences, so per se.
So is that something that, how, because you have a relationship, we're building these relationships. How close should we get?
Well, I think it's a personal choice, right? Robbie's clear about his personal choice. I agree and disagree. I mean, I have done business with people that became very good friends, and now we do reciprocal business. But one of the things that's important, any relationship, whether it's personal, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a business relationship, is integrity, and that the expectations are clear. So when I do business with my real estate buddy, I say, okay, I need you to list this for me, and I'm paying your commission. And we'll argue, and I say, listen, man, you need to make money. I'm using you as a professional because I respect you and trust you. End of discussion. Because you don't want to bring the friendship in as leverage and sour everything. So make the terms of reference clear and stick to your integrity, right? If you say you're going to pay a guy his full worth, do it. Don't go looking for the back door.
There's a lot of people that use relationships in order to get deals, discounts, right? I mean, everybody knows a guy. Oh, I got a guy. This guy, So how unhealthy is that, really?
I wouldn't. I mean, it's all very relative, right? Water is supposed to be good for you, right? You drink 30 gallons of this stuff, that'll be the last thirst you ever have, right? So it's all a question of relativity. It's like Adam was saying, as long as the lines are clear. If we're doing business together, you're not gonna pay me a fraction of the commission that you pay to the other guy because I'm your friend. Yeah. But some way, somehow, that always tends to kind of sneak its way in because, again, even if you look at the terms that we use to qualify our relationships, right? My boyfriend, my girlfriend, my business partner, right? There is that sense of entitlement there already that is already put onto the table. So even if I know that Adam and I have that same concept in mind that you will pay me my worth, at the end of the day, Adam is going to go to bed at night and be like, man, I thought that guy was my friend. Yeah. Why wouldn't he cut me a deal, you know? And right then and there, just because that little thought is in the back of his mind, all it takes is one incident and boom.
Just the seed.
Exactly, right? And eventually then, because your mind, what you focus on, you see more of it, right?
So you won't do business with friends, or because it's gonna leak into it. I mean, someone like me, I sleep, I wake up, I'm business, you know? It's gonna leak in, you know?
Yeah, and I find personally what ends up happening with me in the business coaching relationship, just because I get to know so much about your business, I get to know about your personal life, I get to know about your family. When you're having as a small business owner, when you're having a bad day at home, you're having a bad day at work. And if that happens to be the day we're coaching, you're having a bad day during the coaching session. So I get to know a ton about my clients. So I find what ends up happening is it kind of goes in the reverse. I usually find clients that we have some level of rapport and people trust us, but the longer that coaching engagement goes, the closer I get with them and the more of a friendship I develop with them, where it gets to a point where, you know, now because I'm always thinking business and I love what I do, right? Now we're even sitting out on a Saturday night on a patio having a beer, and we're still doing like a coaching session kind of thing.
So you're giving your product for free.
You're increasing it, but I kind of justify that personally for myself because I still keep that, like the frequency of every Tuesday at noon we have our coaching session. You're just kind of getting extra freebies and you're probably buying the beer. So
okay, so we're building these relationships, and we're in business, right? And you know, at some point it could step over the line. So at what point does it become stalking? Like it's too much for the guy, or you know, like how do you like, do you show up to the guy's birthday party, or what's going on?
That's a tough question. I think. Let's exercise a little bit of common sense and social graces, right? I mean, that sometimes that's missing these days. But a friend of mine used to say, you know, why people have so much common sense because they never try to use any of it up. But honestly, you know, the laws of social etiquette and that kind of thing. Pay attention to people, the way they're communicating with you, and pay attention to the way you're communicating with people. When you've crossed a line,
they pretty much give you the invitation.
Right. You should know.
Yeah, you should just always be here, and then if they invite you, should you go or should you just...
Well, it's funny, I just saw a YouTube video the other day, and if you guys get a chance, check this YouTube video out, it's hilarious. It's actually, I can't remember who made it, but it's to explain sort of sexual rights of people and when it's too much and too far, right? But essentially what he does is he's like, it's like a cup of tea. Right? If somebody wants a cup of tea, they will tell you, yes, I would like a cup of tea. If they don't pour the cup of tea in their mouth. Like they don't want, like you wouldn't do that, right? Like it makes no sense to do that. And like you can kind of just get a sense and understand, like treat it like a cup of tea. If they say they don't want a cup of tea.
Do you find that some salespeople in any industry, they just try to force a friendship onto you? They're just like, it's like they're you know, let's go to the game, let's go to the game. You know,
absolutely. It's the number one thing that we're taught as salespeople is always build rapport at all time, always trying to be the friend. People buy from people they like, and it kind of becomes. But you know when it's fake. You know when it's like. I can sit there and just by observing the mannerism, I can see when you're trying too much. Like, you know, when you're in a room with someone who's trying really hard to be a friend. Where you're kind of like, man, dude, this is the 4th compliments that you made on my watch. Like, stop. You know, it's just, and you can sense that.
Watch, by the way.
Oh, thank you. There's the 1st compliment. 3 more, and we're going to have to have a talk here.
Now's not a good time to talk about the pocket right square.
Right? So it's one of those things where you sense it when it's fake. So where I draw the line is I'm very conscious about it, right? If you and I are starting a business relationship, I know eventually the person is going to evolve into it. And I'm one of those people who's very social, right? I like going out with people on Saturdays. I like doing all these things. And I'd rather go with people who are like-minded. But always I keep in the back of my mind, remember, come Monday, this guy got to cut you a check. Yeah. Make sure that by Saturday night, when the shots are poured, this guy knows that the check gotta be ready. You know what I mean? So I just throw in like little innuendos. Hey, buddy, this is the 6th shot. Hey, I hope you have enough money to pay me on Monday. Click. You know, so you always kind of like keep that line non-blurred, so they understand. And it's all a question. And like you were saying, right? Like, I agree with your idea, what you said about common sense, but I feel like common sense is really not that common. Yeah. Because sometimes people really will completely forget about the business relationship, and eventually it always never ends up well. You know?
And that's something that's really interesting is that if you haven't read, I'm reading an excellent book called Book Yourself Solid by an author named Michael Port, and one of the first things he talks about is firing clients and understanding that if you're a serious, if you're a serious business person, you're in your integrity, you're authentic, you're looking to create win-wins for your clients, and you got people that always forget to pay or they're always late, it's time to consider that might be a client you don't want to work with, because that relationship's not going to survive. It's not going to survive financially. Somebody's reputation is going to take a hit, and you're going to burn a lot of time and a lot of cycles chasing somebody who should be seeing the value in what you're providing. So I think it's a really...
So time is the most valuable thing that we have, and if you invest your time into a client that it's not coming, you know, it's not reciprocal, it can only end bad. And I love the idea of firing your clients, but when you look at anything, you look at the 80-20 rule, which is 20%, 80% of your clients equals 20% of your. No, sorry, it's the other way around. 20% of your clients bring equal to 8% of your revenue. So if you just invest more time into those 20% of your clients, you will increase your sales or increase the bottom line. So I'm a big believer. Is it something that you
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things, and it's funny, as a business coach, you see this all the time when you go in and you look at their entire customer service plan. And the customer service plan is completely focused on that 80% that's bringing in 20% of the revenue. And you're just like, why are you wasting so much time and effort on this group? These 20% that are happy and providing all of your revenue, make them happier and keep doing that. Like, focus your customer service there. So you're 100% right.
I think that comes from, sorry for interrupting. I feel like that comes from this old school way of training. Like, again, that goes back to that 80-20 rule where people feel like, it's that fear of, because that 20% that's bringing in 80% of all the business, a lot of salespeople tend to be slightly afraid of investing too much time into these guys, because these guys are not easy. These guys they're bringing the major to the business, but they take a lot of the work too, and a lot of the time.
We're gonna wrap it up. Go to more with Ottawa Experts after this. Welcome back. We're talking about how to build relationships for business and life. We talked a little bit about the business. We talked a little bit about the life. We also talked about how your network sometimes equals your net worth, and the relationships that you're building, are going to ultimately create a better business work-life environment for you. We had some gifts. If you call anybody that calls in, the number's on the screen. Call in at any time. If you have questions for any of our experts, we have Adam giving away 1 hour coaching, and Adam will be a business evaluation, and of course an ebook from Mr. Robbie Hollywood Marketing, Sons of
Monarchy.
Sounds of Monarchy, yes. Also, you can tweet your questions at Alfonso13, hashtag
Relate to be great.
Relate to be great. I love that.
I feel like your proudest accomplishment today. You came up with a trending hashtag.
Great hashtag. So, the lines are open, the numbers on the screen, and we're going to get back right into the meat of things. And I want to know, how do I use this to build a relationship with women?
Yes.
Because it's do we mirror like some of the things that we're learning here in the sales, in the business world, and translating into life. And sometimes people have great relationships and they go home and they have their relationships are not so great. So how do we?
One of the most important pieces of advice that I ever got, and I repeat it like it's gospel: you have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in proportion. And this goes double when you're talking to women. Women are much more intuitive than us. They're better listeners, and they also pick up nonverbals a lot quicker than men. So one of the mistakes that almost everybody makes if they haven't practiced it, when you're listening for something rather than listening to somebody. So you've had it at a party, you're talking about your recent trip, and the second you shut your mouth, somebody jumps in and goes, "Oh, I've been to China too." And it's a one-upmanship game.
Yeah.
Rather than stopping and saying, "Oh, Alfonso, that sounds amazing. What was your favorite part of the trip?"
Or another one is when someone is listening, but they're thinking about the response.
Exactly.
That is the word.
Exactly.
It's so funny to see that happen when you talk to clients, because they're always thinking about the next one. And it's interesting, the practice of coaching, that's all it is trying to stay 100% focused in the moment and not having any kind of thoughts except for absorbing what they're trying to tell you through both verbal and nonverbal cues, right? And the modality or the thought process behind that is that if you just listen with complete openness in the moment, the right question will just appear when it's time for it, right? Yeah. And you know what? At first, I kind of heard that, and I'm like, come on, I'm smarter than that. I'm quick on my feet. I'll be able to.
Right.
But no, the more I focus in and just let it all go, it's right. The right question just comes to you.
I personally feel like, actually, it's funny that you just brought it up, because I'm not plugging in or anything, but the majority of the actual book is focused on how I use the 48 laws of power, so per se, in my relationships with women. And the one thing that I find, it is
okay. Questions? The numbers on the screen. Get some relationship.
Never outshine the master.
Never outshine the master. Yes, but it's funny, because you just made me think about a story. The one thing that I found that the biggest mistake that most people try to make, or not trying to make, but make when relating to women is this idea that we've been sold by Hollywood of unconditional love. This person loves me because I am me, and there is no conditions, and they will do whatever just because that's what the movies do say. And that's a terrible way to be able to approach your relationships. And it just reminded me of a story the other day, because we're talking about, communication and all these type of things. About 6 weeks ago, I get off the road, I come home. And, I've been on the road for about 3 months. I was doing a tour in Midwest US, and I come back and I'm tired. And the only thing that I can think about, I have some physical need that requires some satisfaction, right? My girlfriend, though, works as an OR nurse, and she gets home at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning every day. So I get off the road. I have to go back the next day for about another month and a half. So it's tonight or nothing, right? So she gets home. She walks into the room, and literally, first I give her one look, and I can just read it in her eyes. She's not in the mood for anything. right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's two ways that this can go. I can go ahead and ask, and she's definitely gonna say no, maybe even hit me, right? And that's gonna start a whole entire spiral of things. Oh my God, you're neglecting my needs, and so on and so forth. Or I can apply the laws and get my way and everybody wins. So law number 22 says that you get people
Wait,
to
hold on
play.
a second, what'd you say?
Law number 22 says that you get people to play with the cards that you deal, right? So if you give people two options, and the lesser of both evils is the one that you want, they will definitely opt for the option that you want, and they will think that it is their decision. So my girl comes in the house, comes in the room, and I know that I'm not gonna ask for it. So we're kind of talking, hey, how was your day?
Let's
and
keep
so on
it
and so
PG.
forth. Right,
Okay,
no, it's very PG. I know,
listening to the
I'm very
story.
conscious of that, right? So
Get ready.
right? Get ready to beat. So we start talking and so on and so forth, and then I'm thinking, I'm like, okay. So I look at her, I'm like, hey, babe, would you mind making me a sandwich? I'm kind of hungry, right? So I get the reaction, oh my God, do you think this is a deli? Are you crazy? You're not gonna be able to do this. So she's losing her mind about the fact that I'm asking her to make me a sandwich at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I go into this thing where, right, you agree with the client first before handling any objections, right? Baby, you're right, I'm so selfish, I can't believe this, why would I ask you this? You've been working all night. So she's like, oh my God, he's so understanding of my emotions and needs and
Can I ask
stuff.
a question?
Yeah.
Is she still your girlfriend right now?
She's still my girlfriend right now, but
good.
she's like,
She's
no, she's
watching.
not watching right now. She's on a trip. She's on a trip with her mom. So, but I
My
think
wife's watching, so I'm gonna let her keep talking.
right. So yeah, you're like, you see that guy? That's what you could be dealing with right now. But so I'm like, okay, you know, baby, I'm sorry, and this. She's like, oh, it's okay. And I'm like, so, do you want to just, do it? So she thinks to herself, she's like, I just say no to the sandwich. I can't say no to the sex. And boom, right then and there.
Okay,
Case
okay.
closed. So,
Relationships. See, is this some of the techniques that you would use?
be very careful in the way you answer the next question.
You know, it's interesting because I think this is something that every guy goes through, and even a retired spy or master communicator or a salesperson. We can be on the ball and incredible in what we do, but it can all fall apart at home because you're so much closer emotionally to the situation that, I mean, what happens when you're emotionally invested in something? You start to ignore the feedback because the feelings are taking over. So all the best advice in the world on how to communicate sometimes falls apart when you feel like you're emotionally under attack, right? I think that everybody goes through that. The nature of any close relationship, whether it's with a business partner or a sibling or your parents. My mom actually is a master communicator. She's certified in all kinds of modalities of, communication, and we could go at it like cats and dogs. And I'm the only one in the world that can push her buttons, right? But it's because it's so close. So it's kind of a trap. No matter how good you are at communicating, it can fall apart.
Absolutely.
So we're coming towards the end of the program. It's been, by the way, guys, been a fantastic program. I learned a lot. Law number 22. But I want some tips from you guys. For the audience, for the people at home, how can they build better relationships for business and life? So I'm gonna, I'll start with Adam, and maybe you can give us some tips.
Sure. I think that it has to start with your mindset. So what's the purpose for you going after building a relationship? Is it for you to offer value and to create a win-win situation with the person that you're sitting across the table from? So really come in with a sincere intention. And when you go that way, make sure that you're focusing on listening more than you talk, at least as much as you talk, but listen well and ask good questions. Open-ended questions, not yes or no questions.
What are some good questions?
Okay, I'll give you an example of a bad question. Alfonso, did you have a good weekend?
That potentially could be, I had a bad weekend, right?
Yeah. But what's your tendency if I say,
I had a great weekend.
oh yeah? And that's the end of it.
That's a great conversation.
Let's do this again.
You saw so much human.
Alfonso, what did you get up to on Saturday?
Oh, on Saturday I was with my daughter. I put her to sleep. We read stories.
Okay.
We cuddled.
Let's get into a little rapport building.
Yeah.
Is that the same daughter you did the Family Guy video with the other day on Facebook?
Yes, yeah.
That's cute. You guys do silly stuff like that a lot.
We're very silly. I'm a very silly man.
And we're into rapport building.
Right.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, that's a great tip. Great tip.
One of the things that I like to do, and this comes from my business background because I've been so immersed in business for so long, but something that most people miss in building relationships is that after the first meeting, so I'll give you an example. I go to networking meetings all the time, right? So there's hundreds of people. I get business cards. We sit down for coffee afterwards. Well, a lot of the times, right after that coffee, you know, are we going to do business or not? And a lot of the times, people just say, well, we're not going to do business, so the card goes out the window, and you stay in a mailing list somewhere, and that's kind of the last time we bump into each other until maybe the next networking event. So what I've always done is I've kept a kit, is what I call it. What KIT stands for is keeping in touch. So everybody that I meet, when I kind of have a rapport with them, I'm like, I kind of like that guy, but we're not going to ever do business together. They go into a CRM, and once a month I get reminded, like, this is part of your kit. And at any given time, there's probably 60 to 75 people in there that I randomly just send out emails that say, hey man, I haven't seen you in a long time, I was thinking about you. Because I get reminded, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's right, I haven't seen Jim in about a month. I wonder what he's up to.
So never give up.
It's not never give up, just keep in touch. There's some people that you're just not going to see all that often, but you're going to have a great relationship with, right? 6 months down the road, you'll see them, you'll be like, yeah, you remember that son.
You know, it reminds me, I got referred to a fellow who's a friend now by one of my friends who thought that this guy would be a great prospect for me. And we had coffee 3 or 4 times, and we ended up building a fairly informal relationship. By the 4th time we got out, he said, you know, I'm really sorry, I don't have any business for you, but it'll come. And then eventually, out of nowhere, he emailed me in the middle of the night. He phoned me actually first and said, I've got this really bad thing, I need your help. And it was just because we kept in touch. Exactly.
Guys, it's been beautiful. We'll get to your tips next time.
Thank you.
And join us next time for more of Ottawa Experts here in our Rogers Studios. We were talking about building relationships, and look forward to seeing you next time.